She was hired to help elderly people on their deathbeds, but police say a hospice nurse assistant was helping herself to her patients' belongings. News 13's Gabrielle Burkhardt shows you the video that exposed how she operated.
There is a moment in the surveillance footage that is almost impossible to watch. Not because it's violent, not because it's chaotic, but because it's so ordinary. A woman in scrubs pushes a wheelchair down a hallway. She smiles at someone. She pauses, glances around, and then steps into a room that isn't hers to enter. These were people on hospice. People in their final days. People who had handed over their trust completely to the facility, to the staff, to the woman in the scrubs, because they had no other choice.
It's moments like this that no one wants to see happen when surveillance video really comes in handy.
It was really frustrating. It's very sad to see.
And this is where everything fell apart. What makes this case particularly hard to sit with is the detail that keeps surfacing no matter how many times you look at it. She didn't sneak in through a back entrance. She didn't break a window or forge a key. She came in on her day off, walked up to the front desk, pretended to sign in, and strolled through the building like she belonged there. The uniform was the disguise. So here's exactly how she got in, what she took, how she got caught, and why the camera may have been the only witness these residents ever had.
Santa Fe police say this woman, 25-year-old Bergen Pena, walks into the Kingston Residents Assisted Living Facility on her day off last month, pretends to sign in, and what she does next has residents in shock.
You know, this woman was given a responsibility to take care of these people, and instead she was stealing from them.
Pena is shown on video checking doors, letting herself into rooms, and stealing from elderly residents. Police say she does it again and again.
Narcotics, money, and jewelry. These people have medication that they need. They need it to survive and to be healthy, and she was just taking it right out of their rooms.
Kingston Resident Assisted Living Facility in Santa Fe, New Mexico houses elderly residents, many of them on end-of-life care. These are not people with the physical or cognitive bandwidth to guard their belongings. They depend on caregivers for everything: medication, mobility, dignity, safety. The entire structure of a facility like Kingston runs on trust, because it has to. When your loved one is dying, you are not standing over them 24 hours a day checking who walks into their room. You trust the institution, you trust the staff, you trust the person in the scrubs. Someone on that staff knew exactly how much that trust was worth and decided to exploit it. Bergen Pena was 25 years old and employed by Presbyterian Medical Services as a hospice nurse assistant. The details of her hiring process are not publicly confirmed. Records don't show what background checks were run or what vetting Presbyterian Medical Services required before placing her in a facility caring for dying patients. What is confirmed is that she was assigned to care for some of the most vulnerable people in that building. Families who chose Kingston did so because they believed their loved ones would be safe. They believed the people walking those halls in scrubs were there to help. But at some point, the job became something else entirely. The first signs were quiet. Residents began noticing things missing: narcotics, money, jewelry, small items. The kind of thing an elderly person in pain might second-guess themselves about, might wonder if they misplaced, might not even report right away because they're not sure and they don't want to cause trouble. That is the cruelest part of targeting people in this condition. Theft comes with a built-in layer of plausible deniability, and the victims are least equipped to push back. When you are sick and dying, the last thing you should be doing is questioning whether someone stole from you. Management didn't know yet what was happening, but the camera did.
It wasn't until residents at Kingston reported things missing from their rooms that managers found it was Pena fooling everyone.
Unfortunately, we see elderly people targeted often because people do feel that they can take advantage of them.
No one here at Kingston would go on camera, but the executive director did tell me that the residents who were victimized are thankful that the building's security system helped catch the thief.
Then came the day that is now on record. Pena arrived at Kingston on a day she was not UN scheduled to work. She was wearing scrubs. She approached the front desk and went through the motion of signing in not as a visitor, not as herself off the clock, but performing the routine of a staff member reporting for a shift. Surveillance captured all of it. What it captured next was methodical. She moved through the building, checking doors, letting herself into resident rooms, and taking things. She didn't rush. She wasn't frantic. She came back to it again and again, moving down the hall the way someone moves when they believe no one is watching and no one will check. Police would later confirm that narcotics, money, and jewelry were among the items stolen. One officer put it plainly: these people need their medication to survive, to stay comfortable, to manage pain in the time they have left. And she was taking it right out of their rooms. She wasn't running. She was casual, because she thought no one would check. And between the room entries, this is the part that stays with you. She pushed a wheelchair through the hallway. She talked to people. She smiled. For any resident who crossed paths with her that day, she looked exactly like a caregiver doing her job. The scrubs weren't just clothing, they were camouflage. It wasn't until residents reported missing items that Kingston's management pulled the security footage. What they found was Pena, documented, on camera, entering rooms she had no business entering and leaving with things that weren't hers. The executive director of the facility later confirmed this sequence of events to KRQ News 13 reporter Gabriel Burkhart, though they declined to go on camera. The reaction from staff and the surrounding community, captured in the news coverage, was what you'd expect: frustration, sadness, a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from watching elderly people targeted because someone decided they were easy. But that frustration carried a new weight when investigators added one more detail. This might not have been limited to Kingston. Police revealed they were also investigating Pena in connection with a similar burglary at a different facility. Public reporting provides very little on that second location: the name of the facility, the number of victims, the timeline of that incident. None of it was publicly confirmed at the time this story broke. But the implication is significant. One facility could be opportunity. Two facilities start to look like a pattern. When the footage was reviewed and Pena was identified, that was the moment the whole picture locked into focus. A person hired to provide care to dying patients had been caught, frame by frame, robbing them. Santa Fe police arrested Pena and charged her with multiple counts of burglary. She posted bond and was released pending investigation. The case was ongoing at the time of broadcast. No conviction, no sentencing information, no final legal outcome is publicly available. Unresolved. What happened after the arrest raises its own set of difficult questions. KRQ News 13 contacted Presbyterian Medical Services to ask whether Pena remained employed following her arrest. Presbyterian Medical Services did not respond. Whether she was suspended, terminated, or still on payroll at the time of the broadcast is unconfirmed. That silence is its own kind of answer, even if it isn't a satisfying one. The stolen medication, money, and jewelry, no public record indicates any of it was recovered. For the narcotics especially, that gap is not just financial. These were patients managing pain at the end of their lives. A burglary charge does not restore a hospice patient's medication. It does not undo the discomfort, the fear, or the violation of having someone walk into your room and take from you when you are at your most defenseless. And Kingston's executive director, while praising the security system that ultimately caught Pena, offered no public statement about how a non-scheduled employee was able to enter the building undetected, move through resident wings, and access multiple rooms across what surveillance suggests was more than one visit. The camera caught her, but the camera should have been the last line of defense, not the only one. The residents who were victimized are, according to the facility, thankful that the security system worked. That word lands hard. Thankful, not whole. Not restored. Thankful that someone finally saw what was happening to them. She came in on her day off, in scrubs, on camera, and she still thought she'd get away with it. That tells you everything about how invisible these patients felt, to her, and maybe to the systems that were supposed to protect them. The investigation is ongoing, the second facility inquiry unresolved, and no final legal outcome has been made public. If you have a loved one in a care facility, any facility, ask about their security footage policies. Ask whether non-scheduled staff can enter the building. Ask who reviews access logs and how often. Ask what happens when a resident reports something missing. It shouldn't take a camera catching someone in the act to protect people who are dying. But right now, sometimes that's all we've got.